What up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Jam Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Brian, lots to talk about. We're going to be talking about Daredevil's episode number 3. The early viewership seems weak. And then at that point, we got to sort of ask ourselves, are people just just tired of the superhero genre, right? Brian, what did you think of it?
It's kind of like my reaction to the show so far, mixed. I thought it had some really strong elements, most notably Camar de los Reyes. I just, sometimes life gets in the way of art, right? And this, I think, is one of those cases where his passing, I think, really is going to leave an impact on this show that was not intended. And I think it's unfortunate. And I think you could feel it very poignantly in this episode. And to me, he was the best part of the episode. And I feel like, I feel like we are going to get robbed. We were and are getting robbed of what could have been, a real defining character arc here. I think this episode is the show they intended to make originally. That was my feeling. We know that in episodes 2 and 3, they're using a lot of footage that was shot prior to the Netflix guys coming back. And this had very much the feel of the procedural, the courtroom drama, the not really a superhero show, really in any way, shape, or form other than the one reveal. And I didn't mind some of it. I didn't love the execution of all of it. And so I kind of walked out of the episode feeling like, similarly, like this was not bad, but I'm still not sold that this show is going to rise to the level of seasons 1 and 3 in particular of the Netflix series. What do you think?
Again, I'm cool with it without the action sequences so far. The only thing I disliked so far is the action sequence when he's Daredevil. When he gets into his Daredevil thing, that first episode really took it down a notch compared to what we've seen in the past in the Netflix series. Outside of that, I still enjoy the performances. One of the things that people are sort of really clinging on to is his description of what Puerto Rico is like, right? So he really gained a lot of fans in his description of it. I didn't see anything. I'm curious to see what it was about the execution of it that you didn't quite connect with.
Do you think Matt's a good enough lawyer in this episode? That's my number one question.
There was some question. I was listening to John Roca, and he had a couple of lawyers there, and they were questioning his method even after he initially did not want the White Tiger situation to be brought out, and yet he did. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think Matt's belief was that after he got off, that he wasn't going to go out to be White Tiger. He like the next day he put on his suit and then he got, and it was like I think Matt was under the impression that once he got him off, that he was gonna have to change his life.
And this is where
that wasn't the case.
Well, this is also where I would love to know, because to me, what happened at the end of this episode felt tacked on and felt shot after the fact, where the actor had passed. So to me, This is where like what they were leading to dramatically may not be where we ended up because of what happened. But yeah. So I came at the Matt thing from 2 different ways. So number one is we've rarely seen him argue like a true case in the courtroom. We've seen him in the courtroom for little snippets, like with Frank Castle, a notable example. But we kind of haven't seen him go round after round, with the other side in this situation. So on the one hand, I guess I expected him to be a little sharper and a little ahead of the game, and it felt like he was kind of losing. And he even admits at one point he kind of did the White Tiger thing out of desperation because his main plan had been derailed. And I'm like, well, you didn't see that coming? Like that seemed pretty obvious that was going to happen to you. So that felt a little defying belief, especially when his tagline has been, "I'm a really good lawyer." Right. Yeah, so like, I kind of was like, well, if you're a really good lawyer, you gotta Daniel Caffey this type of situation. Right. And like, he he kind of doesn't. He kind of fumbles it. But
Yeah.
I will say there was a part of me that also wondered, was it intentional to make him seem a little less as an attorney without Foggy? That was the one thing in the back of my mind where it's like, okay, he doesn't have his normal running mate for trial prep. And I wondered if they were trying to send a message of like, well, he, in this born again, this new iteration of Matt, he's not as good in the courtroom on his own or with his new law firm partner as he would have been before had Foggy been there. Because Foggy, a lot of times in the Netflix show, is kind of the brains behind the legal operation. If you remember the interplay, he's the one a lot of times coming up with the angles that they want to play. So it did make me wonder, like, was this a little bit of intentional? But I didn't love some of his mistakes over the course of this case, leading to the desperation move.
I chalk it up to the change. I chalk it up to the end of episode 2. Him becoming a little bit unraveled because, again, it's been a year. He's obviously been a good lawyer because he's living a good life. He has high-end clients. So there is some, I guess, history there in terms of his expertise. This case in particular, seeming to be a little bit hitting close to home.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. This part I like. Yes. So yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So I think that aspect and him having gone over having gone through what he did towards the end of episode 2. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one for me to sort of look at in that way, but I just look at it as, he's becoming a bit unraveled because of some of the things that have happened, and of course, and as well as this being a situation that is close to him. I think
maybe what I felt was, if I think about the best episodes of Law and Order, or I think about a situation like A Few Good Men, it felt like this episode wanted to go there, but kind of only went 80% of the way. And maybe that's what I was feeling, was like, if you're going to do a courtroom episode, like, give me the full slate. Like, let him, you can have surprises, but let him also outfox a witness on the stand. I don't know. It felt like the joust was a little uneven until he goes to what honestly seemed like a little bit of a hard to believe all in maneuver, right? With the mask reveal. Well, I was like, really? Like, would that be the play? Like, that seems pretty extreme, So, I get it that the part of this episode that's kind of interesting is what's on trial is not Hector Ayala. What's on trial is really Matt Murdock, right? It's sort of the trial of Daredevil and the role of that person in society, which is why his conversations with Hector are actually in some ways more interesting than what goes on in the courtroom. But that's where I was like, would Matt, even in this stage, would he take that decision out of another vigilante's hands like that? And like, I don't know. There was a part of me that's like, you're pushing it for me in terms of what he would do. You're writing this character.
He sort of broke a bit of trust with him.
Yeah, you're writing this character into places that I'm not sure he would ever go, even in his darkest moments. And we've seen him down, right? In season 3, he's down, like coming off the building. Like, he has to complete rediscover himself. He has no faith in the system. And like, he didn't do anything like that, So I don't know. I just was like, like I said, I didn't love the execution, but I like the idea of examination, the examination of this kind of personage. And he obviously, every comment he makes to Hector is a loaded comment, because Hector doesn't know he's Daredevil, but Daredevil knows he's White Tiger. So like, that was interesting to me. I enjoyed that part of it. But now I got to ask you, because like I said, in the original incarnation, the way we understand it, episode 2 and 3 were supposed to be episodes 1 and 2. So we were supposed to basically not have Matt in the suit. We were only supposed to have that one little apartment fight in the first 2 episodes. Would you have liked it better had they not shown you the first episode with Foggy's death and the CGI kind of affected fight between Matt and Bullseye?
I mean, no. I still would not have preferred to see the CGI fight. That, to me, the execution of that was the downfall for me personally. the story wise. I think this whole notion that Foggy is still alive situation is sort of confuses me.
I think in the Born Again comic, he is alive.
Yeah, but
I get it. The way they showed it, it'd be pretty tough.
yeah, it's like how you fool Daredevil? If it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you fool Daredevil into? Yeah. He heard we heard his last heartbeat. It would be hard for me to believe how that was executed.
It would have to be like Skrull Foggy or something bizarre. Like it's not actually Foggy that was shot. But then Daredevil should know it's not Foggy. I don't know.
Punisher, a special update there. ScarJo doing the Garfield. I think she's just not. She's out. She doesn't want to be I think she's done. But
he does come back. He does come back in the Born Again comic. And I think people are also trying to read into Eldon Henson is in season 2, confirmed. What is he in as? Flashback only, or is he in it?
Yeah. Yeah, but the only thing for me is the CGI fight scene was the only thing that like I could do without, and I would have wanted to possibly wait for. It'll be interesting to see the next fight scene or the next time that he's Daredevil, what that looks like, to sort of get that comparison, to see what they did, if they did something different. Did they take that from something? I don't know, but that's what I'm interested in seeing next.
Something like the death of Foggy is necessary in the first episode to give us a reason for why we're here in episodes 2 and 3. Like, but this goes to the point of, remember, originally this show was not supposed to be season 4. And this is where I think you're running into the cross purposes of what they were building. Because if this is not season 4, then you don't need the Foggy death. It's just another chapter in Matt's life. If it is season 4, that's why you need it, because you have to continue the arcs of some of these characters that we've grown accustomed to. And so I think you need this propulsive catalyst for, like, why is Matt hanging up the suit? Like, why is he doing this? And you have to show an audience that didn't necessarily watch seasons 1, 2, and 3, like, what would catalyze our hero to be this jaded, right? So, but I'm with you that, like, right now, given that the only Daredevil scene we've seen, that's the weakest. It's been the single weak. And, like, I hate to say it, and I get it. I give him a pass because of what happened to Kamar De Los Reyes, but, like, the way White Tiger went out was also not a great staging. I get the music was kind of cool, but, like, the slow-mo where he's just jogging and then he gets taken out from behind, and, like, we'll see if it was Frank or not, but, like, I don't know. I didn't love that. I didn't love that as a tack on. I don't think it was Castle, but, like, Nah.
It definitely wasn't Castle. I think that'll be the thing that drives Murdock to sort of seek out his brand of justice to those individuals that did that. One thing that sort of confused me was, like, that fight that he had at the end of episode 2. That dude should have had a neck brace or something, because of the weight. Because you just don't recover from that and walk out. You know what I'm saying? That I fall like that. I don't know if I'm coming back. I'm sorry,
but that's a recurring theme, though. We got to be honest. For a guy who who basically his official body count is 0 officially in this show. Let's be honest, man. There's a lot of dudes who ain't getting up from what he did to him, right? Like, because remember, in the Netflix show, even Nobu, he doesn't get credit for, because Nobu gets up from him throwing him off the building, and it's Stick who cuts his head off, right? Like, he throws Bullseye off a building, and the metal in his back saves him from dying. Like, this dude is executing Mortal Kombat fatality moves on people. They're just somehow not dead yet. So,
word up, yo. That cop should have been with a neck brace.
When do you think he's back in the suit? We've been told, remember, by the Netflix guys, they wanted to amp up the action, but make it more of a crime show. Like, how much suit do you think we're actually going to get in episodes 4? I mean, we'll get one by the end, but I'm just saying in, like, episodes 4, 5,
I'd say 6, by episode 5. I think
you think so? Okay.
We'll get some. I think we'll get some inclination by the next episode, towards the end, possibly. Okay. And episode 5 will be I think we'll see more of Daredevil in action.
We obviously get the White Tiger successor is in the courtroom, right? Because in the comics, the rest of his family, it's like his niece, like you get other people in IL's family become White Tiger. So I'm assuming, given what happened to him in real life, those characters being in the front row of the pews there is meant to show you like we're going to go that route to resurrect the character at some point.
Do you think?
100%. I don't think it's necessarily what they intended, but I think it's 100% what they will do at this point.
Perhaps in season 2, you're saying, for the White Tiger character to come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's funny. I have completed a rewatch of the Netflix show at this point, just to kind of remind myself of where we're at. I definitely feel this show is probably closest in spirit to season 3 in terms of some of what it's trying to do. But I have to be honest, in the rewatch, I really find myself missing the season 1 sort of detective work and physicality that he does at night. I'm missing that. I got to be honest. I don't necessarily I know that a lot of that resulted in some really cool martial arts and fight scenes, but I'm also missing the degree to which he explored, discovered, and learned things in costume or in the rag, like at night. I feel like this show is missing that, and I am starting to miss that. Like it's too much of a daytime. It's too much of a daytime show so far.
Hence the interest I have when he gets back to that. How much of it is shown, how it's shown. And his fighting, I can't get any more of this you kill my teacher type of fighting. You know what I'm saying? There needs to be some actual skill involved in his fighting. So,
and I didn't remember to that point, like I didn't remember actually in season 3 how much they kind of scaled down his fighting ability because he, was sort of post Defenders and was definitely, his confidence was shaken. So he wasn't the same. In season 3, he's much more of like a boxer and a brawler. He's closer to what we saw in the Bullseye fight at the start of this one. Whereas season 1, he's a ninja. Like season 2, he's a ninja. And like, I think he's got to get back to that at some point for this to really kind of take off.
I think honestly, Marvel has abandoned the artistry and choreography.
I mean, I don't think this show will succeed if it doesn't achieve some of that. And rewatching season 1, I was like blown away, and I didn't even remember like how many flips and jumps off walls and things he did in the context of fighting that just looked super cool. And then you bring like Nobu in, and you bring some of the hand in, and you're like, man, these people are pushing it. Like they're pushing the limit on what you can do. And I think they have to get somewhere close to that level at some point for this to really, really work. But
I mean, because again, when he's Daredevil, unless he's fighting a notable type fighter or foe, for the most part, he's going to be dealing with regular people. It's just how they execute that is my concern.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think, like I said, I think this show, you can definitely feel the seams so far, and it's how well they're going to blend this together. But episode 3 to me was like, oh yeah, I really feel this is the original version of the show. I can feel it.
Yeah,
I don't hate it, but I can feel it.
Yeah. How do you feel about the viewership of the show so far?
I think it's a bad sign.
Okay, so do you agree with the statement that people perhaps may not be caring too much about what Marvel has to offer anymore?
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I think there's also you do have to bring in the Marvel falls under the Disney umbrella, and there's also like a parent company stain. I mean, look at what's going on with the Snow White premiere, right? I mean, that stuff is not Marvel, but I think it has some impact on Marvel because Marvel comes out of Disney. And so people look at that and they're like, well, that's what I don't like about Disney these days. The number that jumped out to me was that the early kind of tracking for the early episodes was about 7.5 million people, I think, in the first week watched this show. That was 1.7 million less than watched Agatha. That's what got my attention as a problem. Because in no world should Agatha's audience be bigger than Daredevil's audience, given the legacy of this show.
Yeah.
But we see like Captain America struggling at the box office. That thing's going to maybe get to 400 million worldwide. Maybe. you know, and that compares to Quantum Mania was 476. Like, you know, I mean, Marvel box office is, unless it's like a Deadpool Wolverine culmination movie, these individual movies are retreating to a level that they were seeing in like phase one, you know, except it's inflation wise, it's almost 15 years later. So that's not great, you know, but I think this viewership is the same way. This did not capture people's attention. And look, there's other stuff on, you know, Reacher's audience is big this year, up season on season, growing still, right? So it's on at the same, these are on at the same time. I haven't seen numbers for like 1923 season 2, but the Sheridan shows typically do pretty well. Like, so there's other stuff out there, and this thing is just not like front of the line for people.
The difference being, this is a superhero show. You know what I'm saying, Brian? This is a superhero show.
Yeah. And while like I said, I don't think it's bad, I also don't think it's not pulling an Andor in the sense of like it's come in so hot. All of a sudden people are like, yo, you gotta, you know anything about Daredevil, you gotta check that out. I don't think it has that kind of urgency.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between Netflix when they did it is like you here it is, all of it.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You know what I'm saying?
And it was a binge.
Yeah. This waiting week to week, yo. Certain shows don't need it. Certain don't we? We want to know what happens. Like, you know what I'm saying? Reacher, the show is so great. Paradise show is so great. You wait for the week to week, even though perhaps you wish you can binge it. But with Daredevil, it hasn't been so. It's like you want it to be good. You want to see what's next, just to see if it gets better. But right now, it has its little flaws here that, dare I say, people may skip a week or forget about it and don't see it. The viewership will get lower and lower. I don't know. Hopefully not. But
it's hard to imagine it's going to get higher, to be quite honest. Like I said, this is not Secret Invasion. This is not like, oh my God, this is a train wreck. They ruined it, right? But at the same time, like I said, it is a crowded marketplace. And I don't think it's good enough that it has to be your first watch. Like let's put it this way. You had someone that said, I only have time to watch one show this week. Are you going to tell them to watch Reacher, or are you going to tell them to watch Daredevil? I would tell them to watch Reacher. Watch
Reacher so you can see what Batman looks like.
Forget Daredevil. We got the real nighttime hero over here.
Let's watch Reacher and just fantasize Batman and just watch it in Batman. You know what I'm saying? Because sheesh. So just let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of Daredevil episode 3. I mean, again, we did a show called Good Not Great. Yeah, we realized it was only 2 episodes, but we were just talking about those first 2 episodes. We weren't really saying good, not great for the entirety of the season. The season hasn't come out yet, but the first 2 episodes, there's an opinion there, whether it's what we expected it to be or not, and it's just an opinion. But yeah, let us know what you guys think of Daredevil so far. Are you recommending it to other people? Because I'm sure that first season you probably were. That second season with the Punisher on the rooftop, I'm pretty sure was a favorite. That first half of the second season was dope. The second half of it, that's where it got a little bit like, oh, okay, wait, this is getting a little bit out there. I
have to say on the rewatch, which I haven't revisited this show since it came out, so 2015, 2020 to 2018. Seasons 1 and 2 on rewatch now, to me, went up in their standing. Season 3 actually came down a little bit. Not going to lie.
Really? I got to watch that again.
I know that the consensus is that season 3 is the best season. But when I went and rewatched it, like I said, I really just forgot how good the nighttime staging, action, and development was in season 1. And I think I kind of forgot how kind of atomic Bernthal was coming into season 2. And so, like you mentioned, like the first half, but even in the second half, don't forget the prison fights in the second half. His meeting of Kingpins in the second half of the season. Yeah. So, the boat scene is in the second half of the season. So, like, I know what you're talking about, because like the thing with the hand gets a little bit, we're getting toward Defenders and a little bit out there. But I actually think second season is now a little bit underrated when I went back on the rewatch. And I think third is actually slightly overrated, just just a touch.
I gotta rewatch it again.
I also don't think, I have to say this, I don't know if it's by design or whatever, or whether just because he's older. I don't think D'Onofrio so far is quite as menacing as Kingpin as he used to be. And that just might be he's almost a decade older. Because like if you listen to how he delivers the lines, and he is physically bigger in seasons 1, 2, and 3, he is really putting pressure on his voice to make that kind of I don't know what they call that stilted tone of Kingpin. And he doesn't do it as much in this show. He does it, but it's almost like a lighter version of it. And I wonder if it's because he can't.
We'll see once he starts to transform into this other guy, into this other guy. Right now, he's a bit more subdued. Like Matt said, he is lighter step. So it's I'm waiting to see what it looks like afterwards.
But in seasons 1, 2, and 3, even when he was super quiet and super composed, he was so terrifying, and the voice was so terrifying. And in this show, the voice is just a little bit; it's just not as rough. But I said it may just be because that's really hard to do. Possibly. And now he might be old enough.
Because if you listen to him,
I can't go to it.
Because if you listen to him, his completely different.
I mean, to try to do that for like hours on end, your voice will hurt.
Yeah.
So